Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you're having a fantastic day and a great start to your weekend. My name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare. So on the weekends I like to hang out with you guys and talk about the newest releases. But you know the story, there's too many releases. So in order to kind of dial it down or pare it down to the more interesting things, you guys tag me. So a massive thank you to everyone who tags me, DMs me, emails me with content to talk about. Your names are being displayed right now. I super appreciate it. I also have to say a massive thank you to my YouTube community members. You know the general drill, you're rather wonderful. And I do need to have a good live with you again soon because I'm missing your gorgeous faces. Except I don't get to see your faces, but you know the general drill, like I see your avatars, it's a whole thing. But I do have to kind of somewhat apologise. I know the lighting is a bit weird. The reason why is I'm currently at my parents' house and I was like, I am not bringing all of my filming equipment with me. I will just bring a ring light. So if I'm not as well lit as usual, which is definitely the case, that is why. But I figure, who gives a shit? This is all like screened over anyway with pictures of stuff, so who cares? It'll be fine. You know the general drill though, we do have to hydrate, and the mug du jour is this. So I actually have this mug as well down at my house in Wexford, and I have this mug here in Mayo because I'm very particular about the sort of mugs that I have. And yes, I do buy mugs at my parents' house and leave them there for me because that's the sort of strange thing that I do. Now, I will say this week was a little bit more quiet in terms of makeup releases. That being said, there's other things to talk about in terms of, I don't want to call it drama because that feels like it undersells what's actually going on, and just some general kind of updates when it comes to makeup and commerce and all the things on that. So grab your beverage, your little snickety snacks, and we'll jump straight on into it. The first thing that we're actually talking about is VE Cosmetics. We knew this sort of thing was going to occur. It's been gradually occurring. It's all to do with the US imports, taxations, etc. But they put this over on their Instagram and they said that it was an important update for their US coven. They said, it absolutely breaks my heart to say this, but from the 15th of August 2025, I'll be temporarily suspending shipping to the USA. From the 29th of August, a new tariff system comes into force that affects all goods shipped from the UK to the US by international postal systems like Royal Mail, which I use. Until now, orders under $800 were exempt from tariffs, but that de minimis exemption has now been closed by the US administration, and it's causing chaos for small businesses like mine. And this is one of the things that we've all been very concerned about. Here's what I've learned so far. Though even customs experts are struggling to get clear info, customers in the US may be charged a flat tariff fee between $80 to $200 per parcel, regardless of the item's value, even if it only costs $10. This applies to parcels sent through standard postal services like Royal Mail. Couriers like UPS or Every might instead charge a 10% fee, but this isn't guaranteed either. These tariff charges are on top of any customs VAT fees. If customers refuse to pay the fee, the parcel is sent back, which puts even more cost and stress on both ends. We may then be charged the fee that's been unpaid, plus we lose fees on refunds. They've said this flat fee may only last for 6 months until postal services put new systems in place, but it's all so uncertain. I can't in good conscience let my US customers unknowingly place orders and get hit with fees I wouldn't want to pay myself. I also can't risk constant returns or refund chaos while everything is so unclear. So with genuine sorrow and frustration, I'm pausing US shipping from the 15th of August until the situation settles. If there's anything you've had your eye on, please order before then so I can send it before the tariff kicks in. This is devastating. It was a big enough blow when we had to temporarily close shipping to our EU and Northern Ireland customers, and now this. It's a huge blow to small businesses trying to survive. To all my wonderful US customers, thank you for the years of love and support. I hope this isn't goodbye, just a pause, and that we can find a way through this together. With all my love, Lindsay. I mean, this is just absolutely heartbreaking. Well, I think it's heartbreaking. Like, this has been one of the big things that people have been really worried about when it comes to businesses and the tariffs and all of these things. Like, the multinational companies will probably be okay. They have pretty deep pockets. They can kind of deal with a little bit of fluctuation, but it's the little businesses like this, the real, you know, in my mind, the real entrepreneurs, because they're taking massive risks. They're the ones who are really, really struggling. And yes, the makeup community is already like super saturated, but there's not many brands like VE Cosmetics. They're one of the few kind of quite gothic brands that I can think of. And Jolie Beauty is another one. They're also operating outside of the US, so in the UK. So it's going to affect a lot of people. Now, this is one of the first ones that I've seen. The lovely Jamie over on Makeup on Your Radar sent this over to me. I reckon, as you're watching this on a Saturday morning, afternoon, whatever time, we're going to see more and more of this trickling in, because VE was the first ones that I saw that actually actively tackled what all of this is about. So, I mean, we're going to see a big wave of this, and I think it's just a massive disaster waiting to happen. And I know there's going to be so many people upset about it, but I do feel they did the right thing. Like, I kind of can't see any alternative way around that. It is probably the most logical action to take in this, but it sucks. Let's be real. And speaking of, now, here's the thing. I don't know how many of you are on Instagram or are as chronically online as I am, but this did make it over to Reddit. I saw it unfold when it did, and I had thought I was going to maybe do like a video on it, but then I thought, no, do you know what? Maybe wait, see how it plays out, gather your thoughts on this and see what the story is. So there's an indie brand called Kaima Cosmetics. They've been around for a couple of years now. They're based in the UK, and they're kind of known for doing some really interesting pigments. And here's essentially the background. I'm going to show you some screenshots as well at the same time, because, you know, very professional over here. But basically what happened was they'd gotten some sort of negative reviews, and they basically asked people, could they please, you know, go over and amp up the reviews, essentially, was my understanding of that. Now, I could be completely wrong. And there's a content creator by the name of Ella Hinckley who responded. Now, I would also say, go and check them out. I'll link down their YouTube. They also have an Instagram. Do check that out. And they gave some criticism for that, of like, oh, you know, you're kind of asking people to do this. This is kind of strange. And what's quite weird here is Kaima's response. So Kaima said, "Hello, Ella. Thank you so much for the constructive criticism. Can I please ask how you've not accepted that? Your comment was really mean, and I would love to understand your way of thinking." So Ella then said, "Trustpilot is for customers to express their experiences. You begging for good reviews is just not right," which I would agree with. You know, you can't just ask people to give reviews on Trustpilot unless they've like specifically purchased. You know, it's not an authentic and organic review. People will only go onto Trustpilot if, you know, they feel the service has warranted it one way or the other. She said, "Especially since you basically encouraged to write a review and people didn't order." And again, that's the problem. How can people then make informed decisions based upon whether or not they're going to get something? I don't know about you, but I've definitely made choices on whether to purchase from a brand based upon reviews. And if those are misleading, or dare I say it, false reviews, I feel like that's quite frankly fraudulent, and she's right to point that out. And then the comment back from Kaima was, "You're such a wonderful person, love you, lol," which is strangely passive aggressive. "I bet your days following are going to be amazing. Think of me when everything starts to go so wrong for you." Again, very weird sort of a response. In my mind, wildly unprofessional. Look, I get it. You know, you're in a profession where you're going to get criticism, and sometimes it's going to be hard to take, but you do just have to take it, you know? Like, I'm literally in a profession where that happens all the time, and you do just kind of have to go, okay, look, it happens, and maybe there's some constructive criticism that I can take here and make my practice better, make my business better in this particular instance. So essentially then Ella went on to say, "Wow, you are a brand owner, honey. This is not Disney Channel," which again, I would agree. She was trying to kind of bring her back to where you should be. And Kaima then said, "LMFAO," and this is where it all really devolved, "You are a nobody and look awful. It's always people that look like you. Have the best day. Sort your scabby skin out. Fatty. Post that to all your 1,000 followers. LOL." And Ella then said, "My followers will love this story, thanks." Now, I want to just briefly interlude here, because I don't know if it's just I took that personally myself, because if you guys have been watching me, I have quite a few issues with my skin from time to time. They're currently sorted out. But I'm just like, why would you comment on somebody's appearance? That's so strange. And I am also a human being that has a lot of weight on, and that's okay. But making those sort of comments goes from being unprofessional, which they started off as, like people were saying the comments of the skin and the appearance were unprofessional. I think they go beyond being unprofessional to just being really, really inhuman. Like, that is not how you speak to anybody, irrespective of whether you're offering them a service. You don't talk to another human being that way. And even bringing up the whole follower count. It doesn't matter if you've 1 follower or 50 million followers or no followers. Everyone has the right to basic human decency and to be treated with respect. And appearances, I know we're in an industry, beauty, makeup, skincare, etc., that is quite appearance focused and dominated. But it is literally beauty is skin deep. You don't know these things about people. Like, somebody could have the most beautiful face and could be a horrible person. But bringing up things that people might be insecure about or might have some issues about is really, I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's nasty and it's bullying behaviour. And I'm going to say it right now, Ella is incredible for not taking it standing, because it can be kind of easier to sit back and say, okay, well, this just happened, I'll take it, it is what it is. But to say, nah, you can't talk to me like that and you can't talk to anybody like that. Let me make this very, very clear. And to go very openly on this, I have to say incredible, because I know she got some nasty DMs about it. Like, some people were coming for her over that, like the stans of the brand. So I don't know Ella, obviously, but just on that alone, I'm like, girl, well done. That's incredible. Standing up for yourself is very, very hard. She then went on to say more stuff within her stories. She said, so maybe don't support a brand that calls other people fatty and wishes them all the worst while praising positivity. And that's that double standard that we see quite a bit. I've seen a lot of brands pretending to be really pally with people, and I know these particular brands talk shit about other people behind their back. I can't give names, but I do have people in mind, and I think they know I know. But that's like, it happens all the time, and it's just, I can't stand hypocrisy. She then went on to say, for context, she was crying and sobbing because someone gave her a bad review on Trustpilot. From what I observed, she asked her followers to give good reviews, and since Trustpilot doesn't need a proof that they shopped there, if there isn't a complaint with the review, anyone can review there. So again, it would have just inflated their Trustpilot scores and not appropriately. Like, it wouldn't have been an accurate review. She said she then posted a video today thanking for the support and boosting her rating to a 4.5 or so on Trustpilot, and I commented this. This was the comment that essentially started it. So basically, you were begging for good reviews because someone shared their personal experience and are not adulting enough to just accept the fact that someone just felt that way and now influenced these reviews and basically directed that in a false direction so you feel better. Wow. And again, I would agree here with Ella. It's false. You know, you can't ask your followers who haven't maybe purchased anything from you to go and write an inaccurate review. That's weird. And it again sends this false narrative. Take it on board when somebody is giving you something that you could potentially work on. She then went on to say, I definitely could have stayed silent, but I didn't want to. No one has to agree with me, but calling me fat and making fun of me is just the biggest shitfuck of unprofessionalism. Like I said, I think it goes beyond unprofessionalism. Like, for me, unprofessionalism is just like, you know, calling someone hun or like not responding within an appropriate time frame. This is beyond unprofessional. This is like, you wouldn't talk to anybody in this way. It doesn't matter if it's a professional capacity or not. This is rudeness personified. It's so weird. And again, she was so correct, went on to say, I don't care if I have 1 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 followers, as long as I can spread the awareness for this disgusting personality of a brand owner, my mission is done. So well done her. But here's the thing. And I've seen this a few times when brands get into trouble. There's a lot of deflection and kind of bringing up of like mental health and like, I'm struggling. And look, I get that, right? Mental health, it's going to fluctuate, it's dynamic. And there's excuses versus explanation. Like, you can give your mental health as an explanation for your behavior, but it doesn't excuse you from doing the right thing. You have to take accountability, right? And deflecting it onto others and not taking accountability just isn't it, particularly if you're owning a business. If it's your business, your name on the thing, you need to take action. What was really weird was Kaima Cosmetics then posted this story, and well, it wasn't a story, it was actually a post, and it's still up there, at least by the time of filming, and it was of basically fireworks at Disney World, and it came along with this caption: Kaima Cosmetics would like to wholeheartedly apologise for any offence caused by a post made by a staff member who was posting on behalf of the brand owner Gemma. I mean, I'll get to that in a little bit. This staff member has now been dismissed from the company. This has truly spoilt Gemma's family holiday, and as a result she will be suspending social media content until we can recruit a reliable staff member to take over. Gemma has received vile comments and criticism for a post she was totally unaware of until late yesterday. And from the picture, this has caused fireworks within the company and has damaged our brand, which we have worked tirelessly to build over the last few years. We have prided ourselves on our customer service, and it is entirely unacceptable for Gemma to receive vile posts and death threats caused by someone who is now no longer with the company. Now, I agree, nobody should get death threats. That's obviously wildly inappropriate. But again, there's that level of deflection. Even if this is a post done by somebody else, there was something in that company ethos that made that potential person feel as if it was appropriate for them to say that, you know? And we'll get on to that in a little bit. We do not and have not ever encouraged false Trustpilot reviews and would never condone false reviews. As a small independent company, we have always strived for good customer service, and it is with heavy heart we were ashamed that a supposedly trusted employee would abuse the trust we placed in them to act on Gemma's behalf. Gemma is totally upset and distraught over this. We totally apologise to Ella on behalf of the company and can totally reassure our customers that this behaviour will not be tolerated by our brand. Once again, apologies for any offence this has caused. Going forward, we will strive once more for outstanding customer service. Regards, Gemma's dad. Which is, in and of itself, strange. I don't know about you. Maybe it's just me. In my professional capacity, I would not have my parent write an apology on my behalf, you know, for my profession. I couldn't be like, oh, well, I gave a lecture badly or I provided an incorrect psychological service. I better go have my mum and dad apologise. That in and of itself is weird. And there's a strange framing to that of, again, kind of like, I'm vulnerable, I can't do this. And again, I get, you know, that sometimes there can be a vulnerability there, but that doesn't mean that people can't still take accountability. There is a massive issue with that. And now this is where I want to lead on to, okay? So they said that this was due to a staff member, a supposed staff member, right? If you go onto Kaima Cosmetics website, I'm going to show you the About Us page, and it says that we have turned our fabulous team of just 3 into a family of 4 over the past year, welcoming our wonderful friend and team member Jenny into the Kaima family. Also a special mention to Lisa and Fern, who help with customer service on our emails and socials. So it'd have to be, if it's by the way, anybody, some of these, right? So it's meant to be a team of 4. And they said we started out as a dream over 7 magical years ago, blah, blah, blah. Right, that's grand, totally cool. But actually, if you go onto gov.co.uk to see where they're registered, that tells a different story. So again, I'm going to show you some screenshots. By the way, I didn't come up with this. My gorgeous friend Daniela sent me on this information. She's great at figuring these sorts of things up. And I'm going to show you this. This is what it says over on gov.co.uk. It gives you the business number, etc. And if you go into their most recent, one of their more recent filings in terms of assets, etc., this was January 31st, 2024. If you go down to average number of employees, it says average number of employees, including directors, during the year was 2. So my question is, they're saying over on their website that they had a team of 3 that went up to a team of 4, but their filings say that there's a team of 2, including the director. I'm just wondering what the information is there and where the inaccuracies are. Is it that they have failed to file that with gov.co.uk? Because you are meant to keep up to date with these sorts of things. And presumably if you went from a team of 3 to a team of 4 relatively recently, that would all be on gov.co.uk. You're meant to update as it happens, not just end of year. So it feels very strange to me that this is what the story is. And again, I get it, you know, you have a small team and it might have been somebody else, but you also generate the company culture. Yeah, there's a certain amount of that. The buck does stop with you. You mightn't have done appropriate training with your staff members to let them know how to interact with other people. And by even just very blanketly stating it was a member of staff and they've been dismissed, you can see through the website who it potentially might have been, or might not have been. But there's enough of a level of doubt there that it's not really great. Do you know what I mean? It's the whole thing is just really, really strange. Now, a lot of people have since come out, and it's been great to see. This is one of the things I do really enjoy about the beauty community, is the rallying behind each other when there is this level of, I suppose, injustice is the word here. And I've seen a lot of people kind of posting and saying like, well done to Ella, and standing behind her. And there's quite a few brands even now who are kind of coming out of the woodwork saying they don't agree with it, like with the way that Kaima have kind of engaged on this. I know that Jamie over on Makeup on Your Radar is saying they're not going to post about Kaima anymore, which frankly, that's kind of where I am as well. Partly I think because I feel, you know, when you feel like there's something that connects you with another person even though you haven't met them, I'm like, I get this, because I am a person of a certain age. I don't have a massive following. You know, I would be seen lower tier, blah blah blah, whatever. And if that's the way that you're going to talk to somebody based upon that, I don't want anything to do with that. The whole thing just left such a horrible taste in my mouth, and it seems like in the mouth of others. I am, by the way, going to leave the links down below to the gov.co.uk so you can have a little perusal there. It's all publicly available information. This isn't anything that I've like whipped out of like the archives that you can't just get yourself. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that seems to be not quite accurate, like they're maybe not filing things correctly, or there's stuff being done. I don't know. It's all very, very strange. Take accountability is essentially the thing, and it just doesn't sit right with me. But well done, Ella, for speaking out on it. I don't know if I've said this as eloquently as I might have done or could have done, because it's just one of those topics that's like, you don't want to have to talk about it. You don't want to have to say like, oh God, there's a brand who's like bullying a person. But apparently this is where we are. People don't know how to be nice to each other and just kind of go, okay, I don't agree with what you've said. Let's leave it at that. It doesn't have to be, you know, a major argument on it. It's just quite strange to me that that's apparently where we are with things. And now we get on to the actual makeup releases, and as I said, there isn't a lot this week, but hey, we still have things to talk about. This is Half Magic Beauty, and they're having a shade extension to their Glitter Puck Pressed Fairy Dust Eye, Face and Body Pot. And I've said this before, I have the two existing shades and they are, oh, they're so good. So I'm really glad to see them expanding on this. The new shade is called Glimmer Pop, and it's available for $29.50. It gives a high impact ethereal sparkle. It's water infused pressed powder for zero mess application, 8-hour long wear, fallout proof and crease proof, multi-use for eyes, face and body. It is beautiful, and this is one of those ones, again, you could use as like a highlighter, you could pop it into the eye, you can do lots of things with it. The owner of Half Magic Beauty, or at least the creator behind Half Magic Beauty, is the makeup artist behind Euphoria, so you do see all of that like glitter and sparkle and just general loveliness. The shades that I have are Dopamine Sparkle and Cyber Diamond, and they are absolutely gorgeous. Now you can build them up to full opacity, but you can then just kind of like tap them on to get that highlightery look. It gives you a really interesting wet look. It is absolutely stunning. And yes, I know $29.50 might seem like it's quite a bit, but I think when you're getting something that is a multi-use product, that you could use it for several different things, like an eye shadow, a highlighter, you can use it on the body. It kind of is worth it. And also you get like a big pot. It isn't like a dinky little thing. There is quite a bit in it. I am looking forward to this. I'm assuming this is going to come to Beauty Bay, because Beauty Bay is the European stockist of Half Magic. However, they're not great at stocking them. I don't know what the story is there. I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to wax lyrical on it. But my goodness, I think this is just such a beautiful product. Like, it's one of those like very easy ones that I feel you could just smash onto the eyelid, smash onto the base, and people are going to be like, what's that on your face? I quite like that. And I don't know about you, but I personally quite like that. I like minimum effort, maximum output, and I feel like that's what you get from Half Magic. I also really appreciate when a brand is doing extensions of stuff that have been popular. It shows that they're listening to people and they're coming out with very mindful releases rather than coming out with like a whole collection. Like, when's the last time that you can think of Half Magic doing a whole collection? It was when they released that they went, oh, we better put a few things together. But actually since then, they've just kind of been adding drips of little bits and pieces where, for instance, their single shadows have done very well, or their glosses have done very well, and they've kind of gone, okay, we can see where there's additional demand here, or where we could extend on this. And I love that. I think that is just so, so well done. It feels very mindful. It feels very much as though it's driven by the consumer in a very kind of logical way. And I really appreciate it. Do I need this? No. But I love the other two. And I kind of feel like I will end up getting this. I hate myself for this. Once it gets to Beauty Bay, I do think it's going to find its way into my little basket. I think I do just have to make peace with that, and it's okay. Over on Look Healthy store, there's a new brand that I've never actually heard of before, and quite frankly, that's not unheard of because there's so many new brands, it's hard to keep up with them. It's bizarre. This is, and I'm going to struggle to pronounce this, so bear with me, YiCaiWenMo. There we go, YiCaiWenMo. And they have their Latin Dance Chameleon eyeshadows. They have a whole Peach Blossoms eyeshadow palette, and then there's 2 different 12 colour palettes. There's quite a few things. It's over on Look Healthy store. Doesn't seem to be over on C Beauty Mall at the moment. It was, by the way, designed for Latin dancers, so it's very colourful, very vibrant, very, very fun. And here's the interesting thing: the eyeshadows do not contain talc. Now, we know that having a talc-free formula generally means it's going to be more expensive, but actually this seems to be on the slightly more affordable side, so I'm kind of impressed with that. There's quite a few things that have been added to the Look Healthy store at the moment. So we're talking about the Peach Blossoms eyeshadow palette for $39.99, and it's quite a big palette. There's 18 shades in it. Then there's the Phantom Lotus 12 colour eyeshadow palette for $35.99, and the Impression of Mountains and Seas for $35.99. The Dream Stage Latin Dance Chameleon eyeshadow, so there's 4 shades of those. They're $19.99 each, and they come with the shades Lucky Red, Night Elf, Dreamfield, and White Moonlight. For some reason, they don't seem to have any sort of like a bundle deal on that, which I think is a little bit of a missed opportunity, but hey ho, there you go. I don't think it's a major deal. Let's talk about the Peach Blossoms eyeshadow palette. That is retailing for $39.99. My major critique right now is that when I went over to Look Healthy store, I could not find any swatches, which for me always irks me. However, looking at this, I quite like this. Yes, it's a rainbow eyeshadow palette, but you know what? Makes sense. If you're looking at Latin dancers, I mean, let's be real, it's rainbow, it's colourful, it is vibrant, exuberant fun. We're looking at some like slightly more neon-y shades in there. And can I also just say, over on the left-hand side, that left-hand row, column is the correct word, there's a little bit of grunge in there. Did they need the grunge? No, but I enjoy it. I like that there's kind of good depth in here. There's like some deep enough shades. Now, I'd have personally loved a black in here. I think that's kind of missing. I love that they have a white. I think this is actually done quite well, And when you're thinking about it, like $39.99 for what? An 18 pan eyeshadow palette that is talc free. That's not a bad one. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's bad at all. You're talking about like a little over $2 per shade. And it does seem to be primarily matte, which again makes sense for that sort of Latin ballroom sort of thing. I'm just dying to see swatches of this and see what the story is. I want to see like how creamy they are, how well they blend out, because I think there's something here that could be quite useful. I'm going to be keeping an eye out on this. I do think it's quite interesting. The next one then is the Lotus, the Phantom Lotus. That's the more kind of blue coloured one. Oh my goodness. Very, very pretty. Now, this is primarily mattes. 10 shades are mattes and 2 of the shades are more pearlescent, which again, you would see a little bit more with like stage makeup. You wouldn't see as much kind of shimmery, etc. on that. I like this. Do I think I necessarily need it? No. Do I, however, appreciate the fact that there's a black and a white matte in there? Hell yes. Do I think it's as good a value as the previous one? Nah, no. It's $4 cheaper, but I get 6 shades less. Do you know what I mean? But I do feel like this is quite a nice colour story. Like, yes, you have your neutrals and your blues in there. Is that like a done and dusted thing? Yeah, we've seen that 1,000 times before. But it's not a bad one. It's fairly stable, and as I said, talc-free, so not bad. But we have no swatches, so it's hard to kind of know exactly what to think there. Then, I kind of can't get over that they've called this one the Impression of Mountains and Seas, because it doesn't feel like it's Impression of Mountains and Seas, unless you're thinking of like a skyline, like sunsets, in which case, interesting. Can I also say the cover art, stunning, absolutely gorgeous. Again, we're looking at 10 matte shades and 2 pearlescents here. We have an okay level of depth. I don't think it's as good as the previous one, because the deepest shade that you get in there is a purple. Again, I'd love to see that purple swatched. Do you know what purples are like? They're fickle little madams. They can be quite tricky to get. It's not a bad one. You'll get like your sunset eyes. Do I love this? It's all right. I think there's some promise there. But the ones that I actually think are quite nice are the chameleon eyeshadows. And I mean, if you look at those, I don't know about you, but they look kind of tasty. What I appreciate about this is over on Look Healthy Store, they have swatched them on a black background, so you can really see like how vivid they could go, but they've also swatched them basically with nothing beneath. So you could have them be more of like a toppery type thing. They are really, really beautiful. Like $19.99 is spendy enough, but we're talking about something that is more of a chameleon shade. I do feel like when you're showing off these sorts of things, you do need videos so that you can see the reflex. Because on some of them, you can see the reflex within the picture, but it's just the way that they've managed to do it. But it's only like on 1 out of the 4 shades. And I think that if you saw it in a more dynamic interaction, you could make it out a little bit better. Again, that's me just being very pernickety. But I do think it's quite nice. Do I necessarily want it? No, but I don't think it's bad. Obviously, this is my first introduction to the brand. I've never tried anything from them, but I think it's quite an interesting one, and taking that inspiration from Latin dance is really interesting. I haven't actually seen that before. I know that we've had brands taking dance as inspiration. We have things like was it Lemonhead LA or something? They were like inspired by dance and having all the glitters etc. for that. So it's quite fun to see brands look at cosmetics through different lenses and for different purposes. I think there's always a space for things like that. You know, we have things like Kryolan, who are like a brand that is for like film and stage. So having something for dance is really, really interesting. I'd love to see them eventually down the line coming out with things like setting sprays, etc. Because that's the sort of things I would like really be thinking about with Latin dance. Is like there's a lot of tempo to that, and you know, you have a lot of stuff on your face. Is it gonna melt? So I am intrigued. There's nothing in this per se that I'm kind of going, oh my god, I must have it. But I think the fact that even just coming out of the gate with a talc-free formula is really great, and personally I like seeing that. It's just the lack of the swatches that makes me much more hesitant. However, I'm going to be keeping an eye out to see if there's any sort of reviews, and if there is, who knows? Who knows? If there's another palette down the line that's a little bit more me, I'm not saying no. Do you know what I mean? And then we have Shop Alter Ego, who of course make their name by duping various well-known brands. Have a little guess as to who they're duping here. Answers down below. It's usually one of a few people. Pretty clear this is a Natasha Denona dupe. And they've done a Natasha Denona dupe not that long ago, and it was of another one of their more neutral palettes. Because remember, Natasha came out with like 3 or 4 neutral palettes in a row, which I was sitting there kind of going, what are you doing, madam? We don't need this many neutrals. And I'm such a Natasha hoe that I went off and got a few of them anyway, because I'm an idiot, but let's not talk about that. If you liked the colour stories of the Natasha but didn't want to pay the Natasha Denona prices and are okay with having a different formula, that's what Shop Alter Ego is essentially there for. This is the Sunlit Dreams palette, and it's available right now for €19.95. They say that there's soft maple browns, burnished coppers, sun-warmed ambers, and Sunlit Dreams has every shade to carry you through the season. I will say the swatches don't look bad. Like, there is a multi-chrome in there that I'm like, you know what, that's not bad. You know, €19.95 and I get like a nice enough multi-chrome. That's not bad. We literally just talked about chameleon shades from that previous brand. Jesus, can't pronounce things. It is late at night here. For $19.99, and I could get a whole palette for €19.95. It's not a bad one. Like, it looks solid enough. I'd like to see this on the eye, like in action. I do appreciate that they have the swatches, you know. I think I'm just greedy. I like seeing it even on the fingers, because you know how when you see that somebody has swatched something on the fingers, you could see, is it crumbly? Is it dry? Is there a little bit more moisture in that? And then you can kind of figure out how you're going to interact with that. So are you going to start off from your lights to your darks, etc.? I do think this isn't a bad one at all. I've said this many times about Shop Alter Ego. They do these quite well, but I don't love when brands dupe. It drives me a bit mental because they're taking somebody else's work and just kind of passing it off as their own. Now, I do think that, you know, people should have access to interesting colour stories, etc. But they could do this in their own way. You know, they don't have to take other people's ideas. They clearly know what they're doing. So why not do their own sort of things? Again, I'm probably being a bit whatever here, but I'd love to see that for them. That's just me. I'm personally not going to get this. It would be foolish of me to get this. I know there's going to be people who get this and they're going to compare it to the Natasha Denona palettes. I'm not going to be one of those people. I just think that's a bit wasteful. I've done that in the past of like taking, say for instance, a W7 palette and comparing it to a Be Perfect palette. And that was foolish at the time because it's like, just have one, choose one. You don't need to have the two and compare them. That's just, you're just doing that for content. And I'm trying to learn not to just buy things for the content. Because frankly, I'm not even posting that much on YouTube these days because I'm busy. Who knows? I'll continue to do it for as long as it's interesting to me. But like, I get that they're probably banking on a certain amount of that being why people would purchase from them is, you know, people will make videos about duping and like, is this as good? This eye with this eye. This eye has Natasha. This eye has Shop Alter Ego. Can you tell the difference? It kind of lends itself to that sort of marketing. So I kind of get what they're doing. It's kind of inbuilt that they'll get a certain amount. I think just for me, if I was running a business, that's not what I'd like to do. I wouldn't want my identity to be duping. Do you know? Like I'd want to have something else. I'd want to have my own identity outside of that. But that's probably just me being me. Like it seems to be working for them. So, you know, fair enough. Obviously, as I said, not going to get it. But it's not a bad price and it looks fairly decent. So there you go. This one is interesting. This is Question Beauty and they've done a shade extension of mascara toppers, right? So these are kind of shades that you put on top of the mascara to give some interesting sort of colours. And there's two shades. There's Jungle Mirage and there's Oceanic Symphony and they're available right now for €24.95 each. So we'll talk about each of these. Jungle Mirage is apparently a mesmerising multi-chrome mascara topper that shifts from golden warmth to vivid green, finishing with a flash of tranquil blue like a tropical rainforest bottled into a single swipe. This dynamic colour shifting formula transforms your lashes with the vibrant energy of jungle blooms and the shimmer of hidden waterfalls. I mean, my goodness, what? I mean, it feels like very like higher level English, like you're writing an essay, but well done them. Like what an amazing description. Then the Oceanic Symphony, they say this is a dreamy multi-chrome mascara topper that shifts from radiant magenta to soft ocean blue, finishing in a luminous tropical turquoise. Like a sunset melting into the sea, this shade brings a calming coastal energy to every blink, perfect for beachy day looks or shimmering night out glam. I mean, I've never really wanted calming coastal energy. I've never kind of gone, that's what I need, but interesting. Now, in terms of the two of these, they say that this high impact mascara features a silicone brush designed to build volume with every stroke, ensuring unmatched pigmentation that lasts all day. It's available in 20 vivid shades. It effortlessly lifts and adds volume to your lashes while creating a striking pop of colour. Yeah, I think this is quite interesting. Now, it's expensive enough. It's €24.95. Yes, you can get colourful mascaras there on the market. We're going to talk about another one later. My YouTube community members have access to the PDF, so they know what's happening, and you can also check out the description box if you don't want to be surprised. There's also going to be disgusting affiliate links down there. Have we seen colourful mascaras before? Yes, and there's plenty of brands that do them. Glisten Cosmetics is one of the ones that kind of calls to mind. They do some really nice ones at very affordable prices, but this is kind of like an extra level of interest to me because we're going beyond colour into the kind of more multi-chrome stuff. And yes, there's been 5,000,001 multi-chrome things on the market over the last number of years. It's kind of like trying to make fetch happen. But there's not many that have done this, and I will commend them for doing something a little bit different. You guys know I have shit lashes, terrible genetics. I mean, it's the least of the stuff that I have to worry about when it comes to my genetics, but it's shit is essentially what I'm trying to say. But I do think this is kind of fun, kind of interesting. Would I spend €24.95 on something that I could only use for 6 months? Now I'm saying 6 months because for me, I have very sensitive eyes, and that's usually the cutoff point. If I use it past that point, I am going to F up my eyes. I'm also going to advise you guys not to go past that by too much because, you know, eye health, very important. It would feel like a lot for me to shell out unless I knew I was going to use that every single day, in which case, hell yeah, you're gonna really enjoy it. I really like the green one, like that is, I mean, you know me. I'm looking at that kind of going, Jungle Mirage, you say? Like, it looks interesting. It does. I don't think it's a bad one, and kudos to them for doing something a little bit different. I mean, it's hard to do that in this day and age, and I do appreciate the fact that they're putting them onto actual lashes. I will say, whatever way they've kind of photoed them on the eyes looks a little bit strange. I don't know if they've like added in lights because there's weird sparkles in places that I'm like, wouldn't have expected that there. But that might just be me being a little bit pernickety. But I do like it. I like the green more than the bluey purple one, but it's not a bad one. I am going to be a bit pedantic here, and I do kind of do stuff like this from time to time, but I just take a spoolie. I know, oh, don't listen to me. And I'll go into like a multi-chrome liner, like a pan liner, and just wet it, put my spoolie into it, and put that through my eyes. Not my eyes, my eyelashes. There we go. So I'm kind of like, think about it. Do you know, do you necessarily need something like this? You probably don't. But I will commend them for doing something a little bit different. Like, I do enjoy that sort of thing. So kudos to them. We then have Milani Cosmetics, and this is their limited edition Fruit Fetish Autumn Lip Oil. So they have quite a few shades of this. These are 4 new shades. They're available for $11.99. Weirdly not over on Milani themselves, but they were momentarily available on Ulta and then taken off again. But the fabulous Makeup on Your Radar managed to get the pictures, so I have stolen them from them. So there you go. This is, as I said, a limited edition Fruit Fetish Autumn Lip Oils. They are a non-sticky tinted oil in soft shimmer finishes, scented with fall's juiciest flavours, custom blended with fruit extracts and vitamin E to nourish. So it comes in 4 autumn inspired flavours. There's candy apple, pumpkin spice, hot cocoa and mulled wine. I don't dislike these. I think they're okay for the price point. They're not a bad one. I mean, I know there's a slight difference between lip oil and lip gloss in terms of like the amount of oils etc. in them. It doesn't matter enough to me to be like, oh, I love lip oils more than lip glosses, or I love lip glosses more than lip oils. Personally, I don't really care. They're fine. I think I possibly prefer lip glosses more. Who knows? I don't think this is necessarily a bad one. It's a decent price point. When Milani gets over to Europe, they do tend to be a little bit more expensive, but not wildly so. They look pretty nice. I would have expected kind of, they were saying like there's more shimmer. Seeing them on the lip, they don't look as shimmery as I would have thought. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're okay, but I feel like for something that is meant to be like fruit fetish, it's a little bit like lackluster. Like the actual oil, as you see it dropped out, looks much more interesting than it does on the lips. This is why I think like showing them on the lips is really important, because when I look at them on the lips versus the little splodge of the product, I'm like, I'm okay. Like, it's all right for the price, it's grand, but I'm kind of like, unless something really grabs me, I don't want to get it. Even if it is inexpensive, it adds up. You know what I mean? Like, I'll wait and get something that I'm 100% on. Like, this is fine. I don't understand why they would make something like a lip oil be limited edition. I hate limited edition stuff. It just generally really bugs me because they're trying to do the FOMO thing, and I'm like, stop it. Stop trying to get me to buy something that I probably wouldn't buy otherwise. And you know that there's going to be some people who are going to have that FOMO and they're going to go, I must get these things. And if you got all 4 of those, that's just under $50. Like, that's a big thing for Milani to get that amount of an income, because there will be people who will just kind of wander off and get these. I'm not going to judge them because God knows I do my own strange things, but I don't think it's interesting enough to warrant a purchase, if that makes any sense. Now, I will say, obviously, they've had this line out for a while, like these fruit fetishes. So I guess if you have the existing ones and you like them and you like the feel of them, maybe this might be a nice one to kind of add on to it. But again, like I said, the fact that it's limited edition, I don't love that. But that might just be me more than anything else. Do you know what I mean? Then we have Glossier, who have their Skylight liquid highlighter, and it's coming in 6 shades. There's Lunar, which is a white gold with gilded pearl, Prism, a rose gold with silver pearl, Starry, a champagne gold with peach pearl, Sunlit, a light bronze with gilded pearl, Glimmer, a peachy copper with gilded pearl, and Gaze, a deep bronze with red pearl, and it's available now. And there's some differences in terms of the prices, because if you go on like, and you're buying through dollars and you have a US address, $24. If you're in Ireland, it's €30, which seems extremely expensive. Now, Glossier are very like, I hate the term clean beauty, but that's very much what they are. They're like minimal makeup. Oh my God, I just like woke up this good. Oh my God. And I'm like, no, I'm 35. Do you know what? Actually, irrespective of my age, I've never woken up and looked good. Like, I've always looked like I've been dragged backwards through a ditch, even when I've made it an effort. So I think I'm not Glossier's customer, and that's okay. They say it's a skin loving liquid highlighter for pearlescent radiance infused with complexion inspired micro pearls pearls. This buildable formula delivers long-lasting radiance that is non-sticky, non-tacky, and never streaky. Up to 12-hour wear, 24-hour hydration, all these things of like transfer resistant, sweat resistant, water resistant, humidity resistant, blah, blah, blah. You know, that sort of thing. And by the way, it's suitable for sensitive skin. Grand. Now, Glossier's thing is very much like as natural as you can get. You're not going to be wearing this and be seen from space, which is fine. That's what some people want. That's grand. Sometimes I personally quite like that. You know, sometimes you do just want to be a little bit more subtle. I don't know if I would personally pay €30 for that. I think I have stuff in my collection that is much cheaper that could give me a similar effect. The other issue that I have is that they say that this has skin loving ingredients, etc., and it's meant to have some skincare, but they have a lot of very young models, and I'm like, I'd like to see what this looks like on people who have more textured skin. Like, it does look nice. It's nothing that would necessarily wow you. It doesn't look like makeup, which is the whole thing of Glossier, of like, you're meant to look just very natural. There's nothing that jumps out at you. Again, that's a whole aesthetic. But like, I'm looking at these, and again, would I necessarily spend €30 on this? Not really. They're showing it on very, very young skin with no texture. I want to see a before and after. Like, show it to me with people who are like in their 60s, 70s, etc. I say this all the time, but for the love of God, can we see some representation? Because otherwise, I don't know what it is that I'm buying. Like, it looks nice on the models, don't get me wrong, but mind you, those are gorgeous, gorgeous models, right? They could get away with nothing and they'd look absolutely stunning. Let's be real. But like, I want to see it on people who have some skin issues, so I can see, is it going to catch texture? Because it doesn't look like I have texture right now because I don't have any makeup on, but there is certain makeup that will just kind of be like, oh my God, look at all the shit that's on your face. So I'm like, oh, I'm very aware of that. It looks fine, looks grand on the models. Personally, I could take it or leave it. Like I said, there's kind of parts of me that sometimes I will wear makeup like that to just be like, oh yeah, I do just look at this good. But most of the time, when I put on makeup, it is like 0 to 100. It's the full thing, and I have glitter all over my face. Like, it is going to look a little bit strange. So I'm not Glossier's customer, and that's totally fine. I just feel like there's something that they do need to work on there, is the way that they're showing off their products. And I think they could take on a lot more people if they're saying this is a whole skincare thing. If they showed it on people with skin issues, you know, I think that could be really interesting in showing it like long-term use. If they're saying it has 24-hour hydration, then show it on people who have dry skin, right? Show them using it day one, and then after 4 weeks, I want to see if that's the only thing that they've been using. Is this also helping with that? Like, what's the story? Maybe I've thought about this too long, but that's my feelings on it. Feel free to disagree. We're not in an echo chamber over here. It's grand. We have more skincare stuff, and this time it's from The Ordinary, and it's €8.95, which is obviously a very nice price. And do you know what? There's a few things from The Ordinary I quite like. Sometimes it's hit, sometimes it's a miss. But this one is kind of interesting to me because they're saying it claims to reduce a breakout in under 1 hour. And as somebody who struggles with acne from time to time, I'm currently on medication for it. Haha, hooray, modern medicine. This intrigues me. This fast acne treatment is formulated with 10% sulfur to target pimples by 3 dimensions: height, diameter, and redness. There's also niacinamide in that as well, which is meant to help reduce the oils as well. So I am kind of interested in this as being like a targeted solution for spots. Now, I have a current thing that I do when I do have spots, that I have an Origins little salicylic acid thing that I pop on, and then I put on my Peace Out patches to help with that. I wouldn't say no to having something extra that could potentially help. And they were kind of showing on the website how this isn't in competition with their salicylic acid, because salicylic acid does something quite different. That's more of like a consistent exfoliation thing. This is more like a treatment type thing. I think it's interesting, and they've shown obviously how it reduces things in an hour. If that is actually how it does it, then, you know, not a bad one. And I mean, €8.95. I don't know about you. That's not bad, because like the Origins one that I have, that's like 20 something for a bottle, and I absolutely love it, but it's a teeny tiny bottle. It does last me forever. But if I could find something additional, I don't hate this. I think it's a pretty decent one. Like I said, The Ordinary, it can be hit, but it can also be miss. So I guess check in with dermatologists, etc., see what they're thinking. But I think there could be some potential to this. Just saying. We're then moving on to another coloured mascara, and this is from MAC. This is the MAC Stack Elevated Mascara. So the Elevated Mascara is a little bit different because it basically has an argan-infused formula that delivers a 165% instant lash lift. Good luck with that, because my lashes are shite. For a separated and defined lash look with 36-hour wear. Again, who is wearing mascara for 36 hours? I feel like you probably have bigger issues at that point if you're wearing something for 36 hours. So it's a bit different to the MAC Stack. It's the MAC Stack Elevated. So the MAC Stack Elevated has traditionally come in black, but now they've added on a new colour, and this one is called Denim Stack, and it's available now for $29. It's apparently a 91% naturally derived formula featuring argan oil. It's sweat and humidity proof, fade and smudge proof, flake resistant, and clump proof. Look, I'm all for a colourful mascara. I think they're quite fun. I will say this is a little bit underwhelming. I don't know if it's maybe they went for too dark of a blue there, but I do appreciate the fact that, you know, MAC are doing something a little bit different. I have a soft spot for MAC, and I've been really enjoying their resurgence over the last while. So well done them. I think maybe it just needed to be a little bit brighter. It's hard for them to compete with the likes of Maybelline, etc., who are doing colourful mascaras. And I don't know about you, I just don't want to spend a lot on a mascara because I have shit lashes. Maybe if you've wonderful lashes, you're like, no, it's worth putting in a little bit of money. But I thought it was quite interesting to see. We've been talking about wanting colourful mascaras for years, or wanting to do stuff around this, and it's interesting to see that there are brands that are listening, and MAC does seem to be one of them. So kudos, well done to them. I don't think it's necessarily a bad one. We then have Beauty Moon Cosmetics, and this is their Divergence palette. It's revamped, reimagined, and reborn, and now we have the full reveal. They say if you owned the original, you'll see we've completely transformed this palette. It's now featuring 10 super pigmented mattes, 3 hypnotic multichromes, and 2 stunning duochromes. It's launching Friday the 15th of August at 6 p.m. GMT, and it's going to retail for £36.50. So that's like Great British pounds. Now, I don't have the original Divergence palette. I assume they're going to come out with some swatches soon, because at the moment there isn't anything on that. Can I just say the shade Altered is like making eye contact with me. I do love those sort of like yellowy toned greens. I think it's really quite interesting. The individual shades I think are really, really nice. I think I would have just kind of arranged these shades slightly differently, but I'm very weird about wanting uniformity. Like, I'd have probably put the shade Alternate along with, say, shades like Shift, etc. I wouldn't have necessarily put it in with Variant, Eclipse, Pathway, Altered, and Edge. And I think maybe with Alternate I'd have had maybe some more browns in there to kind of balance it out. I do like that Offset is a matte, and then there's its corresponding shimmer shade in there with Revolt. I think that's quite interesting. And then you have Shift to kind of deepen that out, which I do quite like. There's a decent amount of light and dark in here as well, which I do think is quite interesting. I will also say, like, I love the kind of stained glass thing that's going on there. It kind of makes me think of the likes of Kaima Cosmetics, which is a nice thing to think of. I don't necessarily think of Divergence and then think stained glass. You know, if they were going to go with that kind of palette cover, I probably would have called it something like Sacred or Reverent or something like that, something more biblical. Now, they did obviously have like a more biblical themed thing not that long ago with a content creator, and it was really, really interesting. So I don't know if I would have necessarily called it Divergence and maybe gone with that exact one. But I do think it's quite interesting. As I said, I would have maybe laid it out ever so slightly differently. Like, even like the shade Fracture, I'd put that to where Offset is, so that then Fracture, Split, and Parallel are all there in a nice kind of easy to see column. Maybe that's just me. That's the way that I like to look at things. Some people prefer to have that inspiration of just having things a little bit more jumbled so that it makes them rethink of things. That's just a personal thing. It's not a big thing. £36.50. I was going to say £35.90. I mean, I think there are codes that you can use to get money off. Don't think that's necessarily a bad price for a £15 palette. Not a bad one. It's a UK based brand. Now, they'll, I'd say, also struggle with the whole thing that VE Cosmetics are doing as well in terms of stuff for US customers. So we'll see what the story is there. But not a bad one. I will say, this is my slight critique. They have been doing a lot of palettes. Now, I get there's a lot of enthusiasm, there's a lot of passion there, and I love that. but I think maybe spacing things out a little bit more might make more sense, because in a very short space of time, we had the Wilma Finger Dew palette, we've had the Medusa, and now we've had this. And this has all been in the space of a few months. And it would be nice if people had a little bit more time between things. I know that when you're a smaller brand, you do want to kind of keep going with that momentum. It's hard to kind of find that sweet spot. But I think maybe even if they did something other than eyeshadow palettes, I know they have some highlighters, they have some nice lip glosses, etc. Sometimes it could be nice to do something else, but they have been doing a lot of stuff even outside of eyeshadow palettes. So sometimes I think taking a step back can be a little bit helpful. But again, that's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. You may be like, hey, no, I'll take everything that they gave. In which case, fantastic, delighted for you. I think it's just because I see so many releases all the time, I'm like, oh no. I think we might need to chill out a little bit. Again, feel free to disagree. It's all right. Then over on Trend Mood, they released the fact that Pat McGrath is coming out with some new products. There's the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Longwear Blurring Setting Spray. It's a 16-hour dimensional blur finish for $38. So Trend Mood gave the information on that, but Pat McGrath hasn't given the information as to, you know, the prices, etc., or when they're coming out. This setting spray, they say, drenches your skin in a lasting hydration while creating a soft focus finish. It blurs imperfections and boosts your natural radiance, heat and humidity resistant. So it says that it's $38, and it looks like you're getting 100 mils for that, which is pricey enough. I'll be interested to see what the story is there. They also, by the way, showed this over on Pat McGrath. There was a video, so I'll kind of be playing that for you in the background. There's also Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. They're $35, and they're 2 shades for the moment, but I could see they could potentially be looking into expanding this. Personally, I feel like 2 shades isn't enough. I think that both of those shades, and neither of them, would work on me, but that's fine. I am Casper, the not so friendly ghost. It's designed for the delicate under eye area, feather light baked formula, so that could be quite interesting. Delivers a soft focus effect and sets concealer in place without setting into fine lines. One sweep brightens, blurs and smooths away fine lines and imperfections, and it comes in the shades Peach and Amber. So it is apparently coming soon, but we have no exact date yet. It could be interesting. I don't hate the idea of this, but currently those shades ain't gonna work on me. You know, I am quite fair. It is worrying, but you know, I hate to say it, but I do like a lot of Pat McGrath stuff. I mean, I hate that I like it because it is pricey, but I'm not going to knock this. It could actually be quite good. We'll see what the story is. Reluctantly. I think it might be good. This one I'm very interested in. So Katie Jane Hughes, if you know her, she's a very well-known makeup artist. She's incredible. I would say go check out her TikTok, Instagram, etc. She's brilliant at giving tips, tricks, etc. and will really help to elevate your makeup game. But she has her own brand and she has brushes, etc. and there have been a few makeup products that have come out, but this one shut the front door. I have to say a massive thank you to Gillian who sent this on to me. I super appreciate it. So Katie Jane Hughes showed this over on her Instagram stories, and she said this is a sculpting multitasker. You know my feelings on a multitasker. It's going to be available in 5 shades, all with names relating to art and sculpture. Who wants to see some swatches? And she showed one of the shades and the cool tonedness of it. You know my feelings on them. I know this could be used for several things, but frankly I'm just looking at this as a lip liner and I am intrigued. I am very, very, very intrigued. I've been wanting to try her stuff for a while. And I know I have a lot of lip liners. Shut up. I have a whole pencil case filled with eyeliners. And it's not like a pencil case, it's like a pencil book. We won't talk about that. But oh my goodness, the way it looks on her lips. But maybe it won't look the same on mine. Maybe it'll look terrible on my lips and I'll just look whatever. But I love that sort of like, there's a perfect amount of greige in that. I'm really, really interested. And I really trust her to deliver on that, so that is very exciting to me. I will be talking about more of that once we have more information on that, but it's extremely exciting to me. The very last thing that we're talking about is Louis Vuitton. Yeah, you know, the ones that started off doing like luggage and travel stuff however many years ago. They are dropping makeup. It's called La Beauté Louis Vuitton. It's essentially releasing a line of colour cosmetics with Pat McGrath as a creative director. Now, to me, that's potentially extremely interesting because Pat McGrath Cosmetics hasn't had Pat McGrath behind it for quite some time. And I think Pat McGrath herself is just exceptional. So this could be quite interesting, and I'm annoyed about that. But the first launch is going to include 55 lipsticks, 10 nourishing lip balms, which frankly don't give a shit about, and 8 eye palettes. Jesus Christ, that's a lot. 8 eye palettes. It's probably going to be like £4 and they're going to cost you like $80 or something like that. It's apparently going to be available August 25th in 115 stores worldwide. I took that information from Trendmood, so I guess we'll see what the story is there. Is it really bad that whenever I see Louis Vuitton, I just instantly think of Jefferson Starship, because he has like that like extreme fixation on the brand, and that somewhat gives me like the second-hand ick. So initially when I saw that, I was like, ugh, no. But then when I heard Pat McGrath was involved, I was like, oh, this could actually be quite interesting, you know? So I'm in a little bit of a limbo here as to how I feel about it. It could actually be quite interesting, but the price point is probably going to be astronomical. Like I can feel my purse strings clench and be like, no, Teresa, don't do that. You make poor financial decisions, but don't make this decision. We'll see what the story is. It is going to be expensive, but I'm kind of surprised they haven't come out with a beauty brand earlier. Like everyone and their mother has done one, so it kind of feels like they're a little bit late to the story on that, but like, I don't want to say better late than never, but like, I guess. But that, my gorgeous friends, is it. That's the whole episode. I do, however, have my favourite comment, and this is from the lovely Manoshalot, who said, oh, love the mug, not seen it in my local Tesco. I do hope that you did manage to find it in your local Tesco. I do love a Tesco mug rummage. I try not to go there into that section of Tesco because inevitably I do end up getting some. I actually went recently and they had this cute mug and it had Highland cows on it. I was so excited about it. So like, best not to talk about that. Anyways, my gorgeous friends, I know it was a slightly shorter episode than usual. There genuinely just wasn't that much interesting in terms of new makeup releases. And frankly, I don't want to talk ad nauseum about stuff that just isn't fucking interesting. I don't know about you, but I did feel like there was enough in terms of like shit that's been happening in the background to kind of talk about. I would be really interested to see what you guys think of all of these things, whether it comes down to the Kaima Cosmetics stuff, VE Cosmetics, and the struggle with like sending stuff to America, or even the shade extensions to stuff that we've seen with Half Magic Beauty. You know the drill. I love hearing your opinions because a lot of you guys know way more than I do about makeup, and I love the little community that we have over here. It is rather fantastic. But my gorgeous friends, thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe because it's polite, and do please share because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up, don't be gross. But that's it, that's the end of the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.